Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video on the Gooners and Gloves Podcast channel. In today's video, it's going to be the 91st Gooners and Gloves Podcast, and I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts and predictions for Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor 3. This is taking place tomorrow. I'm really excited for it. They're going to complete the trilogy. I think their first two fights were among the best in women's boxing history. I think they're both absolutely incredible. They're both really talented and fantastic at what they do. So I'm really excited to be able to see these two women sharing the ring for a third time. Their first two fights are some of the best in women's boxing history. Their first two fights were obviously incredibly close. Officially, Katie Taylor was given the decision in both of them. Me personally, I scored the first two fights both for Amanda Serrano. However, I only scored it for her by one round. In both instances, I only had Amanda Serrano winning by a round. So let me be perfectly clear. Katie Taylor winning those fights was not a robbery. It wasn't in any way an unfair call. The fact is, the fights were just insanely close that you really couldn't argue with either of them winning, and that's certainly how I felt in the first two fights. However, me personally, I did edge the first two fights to Amanda Serrano, and stuff like this explains why there's a third fight, despite the fact that officially Katie Taylor has won the first two, because everybody knows that the first two, you know, as much as Taylor may have won both of them, ultimately they were super close, and it does still feel like there's an element of unfinished business here. So I'm really excited. I can't wait to see these two amazing, talented women going at it one more time in the ring. It's going to be amazing, and you know, it's really cool to see the spotlight that they're getting, and I'm just hoping that women's boxing can continue growing, continue evolving, and hopefully, you know, these two role models can act as, you know, great examples for women's boxing. And I'm just hoping that, you know, this trilogy can essentially continue the development of women's boxing, and hopefully women's boxing can continue to, you know, evolve, become better, and ultimately, you know, make it to the, you know, a wider audience, essentially, yeah, just a more wide audience. So yeah, really good to see, you know, these two women fighting. Obviously fantastic role models for the sport, and ultimately I think this trilogy is really going to help women's boxing to advance forward, which of course is fantastic, and certainly something that I'm hoping will continue to happen. But anyway, let's go ahead and first just get into the records. So Katie Taylor's record stands at 24-1. However, she does only have 6 knockouts, so she's an absolutely fantastic, superb boxer. You know, she's really good technically. She's very technically gifted. However, of course, her one, you know, Achilles heel has always been her power. She's never really been a very hard hitter, and for that reason she's only got knockouts in 6 of her 25 fights. And on the other hand, Amanda Serrano's record is 47 wins, 3 draws and 1 loss. So I think that's 47 wins, 3 losses and 1 draw. Sorry, I got confused there. Yeah, 47 wins, 3 losses and 1 draw. Of course, 2 of those losses at the hands of Katie Taylor herself. And of course, the knockout percentage is significantly higher at 31 knockouts. So obviously, much higher knockout percentage. And we know that Amanda Serrano is one of the hardest hitting women's boxers out there. She's very powerful. She's, you know, got very explosive punches. And the thing with Amanda Serrano is that she's been up many different weight classes. I think she's like a 7 or 8, you know, division world champion, which is just incredible. And she's been up many weight classes, and it just seems like her power always seems to follow, and she's always been incredibly hard hitting, incredibly powerful. But props to Katie Taylor. She took Amanda Serrano's hardest shots. She never went down. She never took a knee. She took her hardest shots and kept coming forward. So props to Katie Taylor for that. So yeah, these are the records. Katie Taylor 24-1 with 6 knockouts, and Amanda Serrano 47 wins, 3 losses and 1 draw with 31 knockouts. So my official prediction is Amanda Serrano winning by points. I believe that Amanda Serrano will get the decision victory. I simply can't see this fight ending in a knockout. I know I just said how hard Serrano hits, and the fact that she was able to hurt Katie Taylor throughout the first two. However, that being said, I do think that Katie Taylor is incredibly durable. She's incredibly tough, and she's got good defense. You know, Katie Taylor definitely has good defense. She's got good head movement. Like, she's definitely good at avoiding powerful punches, and I do think that she'll be able to do that. And not only that, but Katie Taylor certainly can, you know, throw good combinations as well. Katie Taylor is a very good combination puncher. She's also really good at fighting in flurries, and in fact, multiple times Serrano was thrown off her rhythm, I felt, by Katie Taylor's flurries of punches. I think that her flurries of punches really helped to throw Amanda Serrano off her rhythm, which was really, you know, effective for Katie Taylor, because the thing with Serrano is that she fights in a lot more like quite rhythmically. Like, she likes to get into a rhythm, get into a flow, get the combinations working, kind of work her way in. And I think Katie Taylor definitely picked up on that, and she picked up on the success that Serrano was having with all of those heavy combinations, and so she started throwing in very quick, very explosive bursts, and that's something that really made Amanda Serrano struggle at points in the fights, which of course were able to give Katie Taylor rounds as well. So yeah, but I do think overall that the fight will go the distance. I don't see a knockout happening. I think these two are just far too evenly matched to ever see a knockout. You know, there wasn't a knockout in the first two, and I can't see a knockout happening in this one, so I do believe it will go the full 10 rounds. However, I do think that Amanda Serrano will get the points victory. As I mentioned before, I actually scored both of the first two fights to Amanda Serrano by a round, so even though it was very, very close, I did feel that Amanda Serrano did enough in both fights to get the victory, and so for that reason, I just think that she's going to be able to carry on that momentum into this fight and this time get it done in, not necessarily like an ultra convincing fashion. Like, I don't think this is going to be, 190 or 101.99 or anything of that nature, absolutely not. Like, I don't think it'll be anything like that. I think this is going to be a very close fight. I think it's going to be, sorry, not 101.99. I meant to say 111.99. Sorry, I don't know what I was talking there. 110, 100. Yeah, sorry, I'm completely waffling. Sorry, just ignore what I just said there. But you get what I mean. I don't think this is going to be a very wide scorecard. I still think it's going to be close. I still think it's going to be heavily contested. However, I do think that Amanda Serrano will get the victory, most likely a unanimous decision after 10 rounds. So in terms of why I think that, well, first of all, I just think that Serrano is going to be able to build on, the power shots that she was able to land. As I mentioned before, Serrano had fantastic power punches all throughout the first two fights, and with those, she was able to hurt Katie Taylor multiple times. And not only that, but when she was able to hurt Katie Taylor, she was able to back her up, get her in, get her on the turnbuckles, get her in the corners, and ultimately just really, really go to work and just unleash loads and loads of punches. And I think that's something that really served Amanda Serrano very well in the first fight. The flurries of punches, the combinations, the explosiveness, and I think that's something she's definitely going to make use of again in this fight. I think she's going to come in prepared, she's going to come in ready, she's going to be explosive, she's going to be fast, and I just think she's going to be going 100 miles an hour at Katie Taylor. One thing that I said before is that in the first two fights, I felt that Serrano for the most part was fighting a bit more methodically and kind of taking her time. I do expect that in this fight she's going to start fighting a lot quicker. I think she's going to start a lot faster because in my opinion, Serrano is going to be looking for the stoppage. We know that she hurt Katie Taylor multiple times in the first two fights, and in my opinion, Serrano is going to be looking for the stoppage. I believe her team's going to be telling her to get the stoppage, and I just expect quite fast 100 miles an hour from Serrano as opposed to her first two fights. I think this time around, she's not going to want to leave it in the hands of the judges. I think she's going to be coming out 100 miles an hour, and I think that's something that Katie Taylor is going to struggle with, because in the same way that I think Serrano definitely struggles with fast-paced fighters, I think Katie Taylor does as well. Obviously, Katie Taylor has a very awkward, very erratic, head movement and defense. However, that really fast explosive start from Amanda Serrano could unsettle her, and I think it will unsettle that rhythm and therefore make things more difficult for Katie Taylor in the long run in the fight. So that's the first reason. I just think Serrano is going to come out really quickly. I think she's going to be really, really fast, really explosive, and ultimately look to get the stoppage, which is definitely going to give her some of the early rounds and give her some momentum. Second of all, I think that Serrano's combination punching is really, really good. She's got great combinations, really, really good stuff, and she was able to make effective use of those in the first two fights. And again, that is some of the stuff that gave her the rounds. And I just think this time around, when the rounds are inevitably very close again, I think this is when Serrano is going to start sort of keeping Taylor at distance a bit, using the combinations, and ultimately just really, really ensuring that she closes out the rounds. Because one of the things that probably cost Serrano some of the rounds in the first two fights was that she would kind of let off the gas late on in the round. She probably felt she'd done enough to win the round, but inevitably Katie Taylor was able to kind of steal the round back. And I just think that's something that Serrano this time isn't going to do. I think Serrano is going to be, definitely ensuring that she closes out that last minute of each round strong, and that she's really, really getting the combinations going. She's keeping Taylor away from her with, using her reach advantage and height advantage, and that's something that I expect Amanda Serrano to make full use of. Katie Taylor, of course, will do the same. Katie Taylor, in the same way, definitely a few times also lost some rounds due to kind of getting a bit complacent in the last minute. So that's something that I think universally among both of them, they're definitely going to look to fix. Obviously, both of them got very complacent in the last minute of some rounds, and that cost them the rounds. So that's something I kind of expect both of them to be able to do. Not only that, but I do also expect that Serrano won't look to fight as much on the inside. She's a good inside fighter, but I do think that Taylor's a very good inside fighter, and I think that's something that Serrano did struggle with at points, was the inside game. We know that Katie Taylor definitely knows how to fight on the inside. She's very gritty, she's very determined, and she can fight very well on the inside. And in my opinion, considering that Serrano has the reach advantage and the height advantage, she's probably going to look to keep the fight a bit more on the outside and kind of get those rounds secured in the bag, as opposed to trading really recklessly with Taylor on the inside and therefore risking losing rounds, which in my opinion is what happened in the first couple of fights. So the key reasons why I think that Serrano will be able to outbox Taylor and eventually get the decision win is because she's got slightly longer reach, and I think she's going to want to make use of that more in the fight. Second of all, she's obviously a bit taller. She's going to want to kind of keep the fight rangy, in my opinion. One of the mistakes that Serrano made in the first 2 fights was kind of trading recklessly on the inside with Taylor, and we know that Taylor's a very good inside fighter. She knows what she's doing on the inside, and in my opinion, that's part of what cost Serrano some of the rounds. So I think she's probably going to want to keep it at range. Secondly, I expect Serrano to come out a lot faster this time. In my opinion, Serrano is going to want to get the stoppage. She knows that she hurt Taylor quite badly multiple times in the first 2 fights, and she's going to want to actually get the job done this time. Not only that, but of course she's not going to want to let it get to the judges, especially after feeling like she was robbed in both fights. She's going to want the stoppage. She's going to be coming out a million miles an hour, and yeah, that's ultimately the main reasons. But don't get me wrong, this in no way is going to be easy. I think this is going to be a very close fight again. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if again it comes down to a single round or 2 like the first 2 did, because ultimately they're just so well matched, they're so well contested, and ultimately just 2 brilliant boxers who are going to leave it all on the line. Let me be clear, I don't think this is going to be easy for Serrano. Taylor, of course, has her own strengths. Very good inside fighter, great combination punching, fantastic IQ, very good, combination punching as well. So for that reason, I do expect Taylor to once again give Amanda Serrano a very hard fight, a very difficult test. But I do think this time around, Amanda Serrano will be able to get the victory by decision. So that's my final decision. A very close decision, by the way. We're probably talking like 1 or 2 rounds difference, just like the first 2 fights. I do not see this one. I just can't see this one getting a knockout, to be honest. They're both just so well matched. This fight means so much to both of them. I just can't see either one of them getting knocked out. So for that reason, I have gone with Amanda Serrano to win by points. So yeah, a very exciting fight, especially for women's boxing, and I'm really, really hoping, as I said before, that this fight can continue to help advance women's boxing. Of course, the first 2 fights have already done bits for women's boxing, and I think that the trilogy as a whole is going to be really, really inspirational for women's boxers, in future generations. And I'm just hoping that this continues to advance women's boxing and continues to, shine a light on women's boxing. But yeah, really looking forward to this one. Can't wait to see this rivalry settled. I think it's been a fantastic 2 fights, and I think it's going to be a great trilogy and definitely go down as an all-timer of a trilogy. So I'm really, really excited, and it's great to see these women's headlining again and doing all of that. So anyway, that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. So my final prediction is Amanda Serrano by points. So please let me know down below, what do you think? Will it be a 3-peat by Katie Taylor, or do you believe that Amanda Serrano will be able to get the victory this time? Also, out of interest, what did you guys score the first 2 fights? I want to know, because those 2 fights continue to split so many people to this day. So many people are debating back and forth. Was it Serrano? Was it Taylor? Me personally, as I said, I scored the first 2 fights for Serrano, but only by a single round. So it could very easily have gone to Katie Taylor as well. So yeah, please let me know down below, who do you think will win this fight? And also, who do you think won the first 2 fights? Will it be a 3-peat by Katie Taylor, or will Amanda Serrano get her revenge? Let's find out. But anyway, that's going to go on and do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. I really, really appreciate all the support recently. Thank you for the, just unconditional levels of support. You guys mean the world to me, and thank you so much for allowing me to, have a small platform on the internet where I can kind of just share my thoughts on my 2 passions, football, boxing, Arsenal, etc. So thank you guys so much for that. It really, really means a lot. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for allowing me to have this platform. It may not be a big platform, it may not be anything crazy, but I'm extremely grateful for it, and you guys mean the world to me. So thank you so much for supporting me and continuing to allow me to give my opinions on Arsenal, boxing, and football. But anyway, I'm going to catch you guys with another podcast soon. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please comment down below who you think will win out of Serrano Taylor, and also who you think won the first 2 fights, and I'll catch you guys with another podcast soon. Bye bye.